So hi everyone, I'm Lisi. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a tester. And today I'm gonna share with you a set of tactics that I make good use of to bring teams towards holistic testing and quality. Now, a few things ahead as a disclaimer, sort of. Now, this is purely based on my experience. This is where I can talk from. What I tried is also not just originating with me, it's inspired by countless people. In this case, actually too many to be properly giving credit, but please know I'm building on other people's ideas here. It's also just a snapshot in time. I'm on my journey as well. We're all learning. The tactics I'm sharing, well, they're fallible. They won't work everywhere. They're context dependent, but it's still good to know them to try them out. They're also not there to win over each other. It's there to win as a team. And, well, I didn't transform those teams all by my own. There's a lot of aspects to consider. I'd like to believe I have a part in it, but still. What I'm going to share with you today is, first of all, what is holistic testing and quality? Why do I think this is a worthy goal to go towards to? But we also have to consider, when we reach for that goal, where are we right now? That's just as important. And then I'm going to share with you that set of tactics, my toolbox basically, of things that really work well for me, that I'm still using today. And finally, we're going to wrap this up with where from here, what can you take with you right away in your own context to try out. So let's get started. Holistic testing and quality. So what do you mean by that? Especially the word holistic here is interesting because this talk isn't as much about testing and quality as it is about the word holistic. So I mean all the time, from an idea that we have to bring it to production and the whole cycle. I also mean everywhere, on all kinds of environments we have, everything, all parts of the product, small units, their integrations, the whole system, but also the infrastructure we're running on, the pipelines that we have to build this thing, documentation, all the things that are actually part of the product. And I especially mean by everyone in the team. This applies to testing and learning valuable information about the thing that we're building so we can make informed decisions, but also it's about building quality in so we can improve as we go and do it always a bit better. Now, if I say all the time, everywhere, everything, everyone, I don't mean like every little thing everywhere. I mean consider all those aspects when you make your decisions, what to do in this moment, in this situation. I'm a fan of risk-based testing, so don't get me wrong here. I don't mean test all the things all the time, everywhere. It's a waste of time. But be smart about it. I said already, this is based on my experience, and it's mainly built on the last 3 teams that I've been in. There was a team that was very, very close. We collaborated super well, everything great, and then conflict arose. And trust eroded over 2 years. It completely imploded. Really sad story. There was a team that grew out of nothing, very, very fast, very close, and they took ownership very seriously. And then there's my current team that I'm in for over 2 years now. When I started there, it was rather a group of individuals, not really a team. But they've made actually the farthest journey in the shortest time that I've ever seen, so huge shout out to them. Really proud of these folks. Now, all these teams have something in common. They're all product development teams, owning the whole product, or at least a big chunk of it. So we also had all the skills that you need to do that in the team. And I've always been embedded as a testing and quality specialist in these teams, hands-on. So that's the context that I'm speaking of that will inform everything that comes. When working in this kind of setting, I've seen so many problems. And these are symptoms that usually often came together. Not always, but let's see if you can resonate with a few of those. I've seen poor delivery. It's very unfortunate. Building things that actually don't work as we expected to, that nobody uses, people outside the team, complaining about the team. I've seen limited communication, especially within the teams across roles. People not really talking with each other. I've seen expert role thinking, which can be seen if you hear people say, like, you as a quality engineer, the front-end team as a sub-team within the team, these kind of things. So also lots of handovers. I'm done, but actually the whole thing isn't done, right? It's like just a tiny bit. Poor system understanding. If you only see one small slice of the thing, it's very hard to think of everything else and see the whole picture. So it's quite error-prone. Regression issues will show up this way. And, well, it gets deeper. I've often also seen lack of safety, lack of trust, which can also be seen if you see people retreating to the boxes, lots of defensive behavior, like nobody's really daring to speak up, or people are avoiding conflict because it's not safe to have them. Especially if you're also having an environment where people are quick to blame each other. Yeah, looking for scapegoats. Not really a nice environment. It's rather toxic. Hence, it's no surprise that people might not dare to take any action anymore, any decision, because I might get blamed, right? I'd rather stay quiet. But it doesn't really help the whole thing. So lack of transparency, lots of gatekeeping, lots of knowledge silos. Well, they all come together. And I could go on. Again, these are symptoms. They often come together, they don't have to, but it's what I've seen a lot of times in a lot of teams. How to build quality in this kind of environment. And there's so many problems. We can't fix them overnight. But what I've seen is the most effective solution to at least start at it and keep going is to make things a team thing. And that's where I've seen a lot of the problems that I've just presented being counteracted. Because if you make things a team thing, you have to start with inclusion and access. If I have to test holistically, and everybody should be able to test everywhere all the time, you have to have access to tooling, permissions, invites, everything. So you can also share knowledge, and you will share skills. Hence, you build up a lot more resilience in the team, reducing those bottlenecks and those silos. So I've seen a lot faster flow, faster learning through faster delivery, the team feeling more accountable for what they're actually doing, because they also see the whole parts. They see what others have been doing, what kind of things are still there to do besides the things that they've previously done, so they will develop empathy and appreciation for each other. Definitely increase the willingness to support. Also the willingness to try new things and improve things. System understanding, as I mentioned, definitely will increase because you will see way more of the bigger picture. I've seen better relationships in the team, but also across teams, actually. Better quality outcomes. Overall, a stronger team. At least in my experiences, this is a worthy goal. But we're not there yet. Usually we aren't. So let's consider where we are right now. So we can choose more wisely how we want to get to a goal like this. Now, I've heard a lot of people, especially when speaking with specialists like testers, like, I'm just a specialist. I can't do anything. I don't have any power. My hands are bound. And a lot of people do feel powerless that I'm speaking with. And sometimes that's been me. But actually, you don't have to be in an official position of leadership or management to influence other people. As a matter of fact, we do that all the time, if you're aware of it or not. This talk is not about models of influence, but if you'd like to go into those, I really like the two that I'm currently showing, so for further reference, they helped me. I don't know if they're going to help you. Well, one that I found really interesting was the power basis model by French and Raven. It's a model, it's flawed, but it was really useful to help me think. It describes 6 types of different powers or sources of powers that you can use, and that you probably use some of them. And you can also reflect what kind of other ways can I use to influence other people. And the other one is impact over intention. I do appreciate good intentions, absolutely. I appreciate if you don't want to trick me or manipulate me into doing something that I'd consider evil. Yep. But if we don't consider the impact our actions might have, we might be surprised about the outcome. Impact over intention. The thing is, even if I think about the impact of my actions, and I really believe we should do that up front to prevent harm to other folks, we might still mess up. Yes. But be intentional about it allows us also to learn from what happened, to acknowledge that, to probably apologize as well, and do better next time. So impact is something that really matters, even more than good intentions. Now, we're speaking here about change. Change doesn't come overnight, so let's talk about a few time-related factors. First of all, it really requires patience. Some things, little things, take a lot longer than you might think they would. And that could be things that I feel like is quite essential, is fundamental, like running that backend service locally, because fast feedback, right? But that doesn't come as natural or essential to everybody. And sometimes just a change like getting other teammates to also run that backend service locally to get all the benefits that I'm seeing, it took over a year until the rest of the team picked that up. It does take time, but it's still worth sowing those seeds and explaining why certain things are probably beneficial for more than just me. So sowing those seeds, even without knowing what will grow, is worth it. Sometimes we get that feedback and it does grow. That's awesome, but sometimes it just happens after we left already. We need to be mindful not to run too fast. I usually have a lot of ideas on we can change this and we can change this and that, and like it can be overwhelming. So one by one, change fatigue is quite real. Let's not run away from people. It might just not be the right time. People are not ready. Maybe the foundations are not there. Maybe there's too much other things going on at the same time. But one thing is definitely a given, and that's going to be setbacks. Setbacks will always happen. Even in the best of times, my teams, well, we fluctuated upwards, let's say, because we will have really good times and things are going, we're improving, and then there will be stressful times, times of high tension. And we will fall back to less desired behaviors. And with we, I include me. I will fall back to my less desired behaviors just as well. I can just hope that we're strong enough already to the next high is going to be a bit higher already. So that's the best case. Sometimes it's looking more like a roller coaster, but brace yourself for that. Before choosing tactics, or in general, like what's the next thing to do, it's really helpful to observe and see what's going on, because context really matters, and it is different everywhere we go. I see a lot of people copy-paste approaches that worked in past teams just to the new environment, and there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, we can try that. We can just not expect to have it work the same way as it used to work before. It's more than one right way, and all of that can help us guide into a better future. But what really helps when observing is to look for pain points, for needs and wants and fears, all those things that people can tell each other, especially in direct conversations or in group settings, everything that you pick up, all those signals. There can be patterns. Maybe all of them speak about a similar thing. That could be really good information for my next move. All that being said, it shouldn't stop you from just trying small things right away. But for the bigger initiatives, this can be super helpful. Because in the end, we have to pick what we aim for. We only have so much capacity, so much time. So let's focus, again, with impact in mind. What's the most valuable thing right now that I can do that already helps us further? There will always be other things going on, and people trying to also get you as an ally or advocate for other initiatives, which is fine, but we still also have to be mindful about our own energies. We also only have as much capacity as we have, so let's preserve our energies for the ones where we feel this is the most impactful thing to work on right now. And then we have to dare. Do it. Take action. The thing is, also here, I've heard a lot of people over and over again falling into sort of a victim stance, like, I can't do anything, people don't involve me, it's always the others, the manager should fix things, or whatever. Yes, I've been there too. It's just not helpful. And the other thing is confidence. Lacking confidence is also one of those blockers. But confidence is not about knowing everything already. It's about having that belief that we can figure things out. It'll work out. I can't change others. I have to start with myself. First of all, I can only invite and encourage others to join me on that change, but it has to start with me. I have to take that action. And that takes courage. Courage to try and do it again, and fail, and do it again, and try better. Someone else won't fix it for us, or not in a way that we will appreciate. So let's get started ourselves and be part of that solution. We're coming to the how. We know the goal. We have a lot more information of where we are right now, how to get there. So this is the toolbox that I'm using basically daily. It's not very separate. All these tactics can also be combined, mix and match. You'll see as I explain each of them. But these are the 12 that I'm going to present you today. It's also, again, a snapshot in time, and we'll dive into each of them. Give you a second to, yes, it's going to come again, so don't worry. It's my choice selection. So let's start with the first one and go in. And that's, for me, the most essential foundational one, people first, putting humans at the center. Safe, trustful relationships is super essential. Without trust, I never really got far. And losing trust is one of the not only the saddest things ever, but it's also really, really hurting because it takes a lot of time to rebuild that trust. But how do we build trust in each other? We can show a lot of curiosity in the other one, listening with the intent to just understand, not to question or give advice or anything, just understand. Just listen to the other person, and hopefully with reduced or no judgment, as much as you can, just to take in what is already there. And if we learn about good things that happen, we can also use appreciations, authentic, genuine appreciations. Praise can go a long way, not only directly with the other person, but also in front of a group. So they also instantly know, oh, this is what you get praised for, okay. Could be a reinforcing cycle in front of managers, and so on. Again, it has to be authentic, and let the other person know what you praised them for. What was the impact, the positive impact that they had on you? Contributing hands-on is another great way to build trust, to show people I'm here to share the load. I can be relied on. I can communicate. We can do this together. And you're not alone. Especially if you're new on a team, but even if you're not new on a team, and maybe someone else joins, working together on something is a great conversation starter, and to help build that relationship and get to know the other person and build up that trust. Helping is another one. If I help you today, there's a really good chance that when I need help or a favor, you probably are more willing to help me back. It's the principle of reciprocity. But it's also really important to proactively ask for help when you actually need it, and not just go around and help all the other people, but also lead by yourself to ask for help. And not just wait for it to happen. If somebody does help you, well, great thing to appreciate them again for. Let them know why. So people at the center. But people are also just where they are right now. So we have to meet them there. They're not where we want them to be yet. They're not where you are. So I made really good experience to just go wherever they are right now and start together from there. And not assume, but again learn. Because sometimes I went in and I'm assuming everybody knows certain things that I now, at my point in the career, the experience that I made, consider completely foundational, and everybody knows that, right? No, not everybody made that experience. Not everybody knows how to call an API endpoint. What I thought yeah, of course. No, it's not a thing. So many times I was surprised and okay, wait, I shouldn't assume. Let's learn where they are right now and then start from there. Whatever experience they made is valid. I might not agree with it, but whatever conceptions or beliefs they hold, this is the reality. So let's rather meet them there. If I can, speaking their language is also a really good one. If I always hear people talk about certain patterns, maybe a person always talks in domain-driven design language, or another one always talks about data-driven decisions and experimenting, or people talk about user research, I can meet them there. Try to speak the language. If you can't do that yet, just trying to learn it is also a great signal, oh, there's someone who's trying to get closer to me. Working where people work is one of those other things that did a lot of magic for me. Now, you might see teams using, for example, a ticketing tool like Jira, and you see them working very asynchronously, just commenting on tickets all the time without talking to each other. Now, that might not be my ideal way of how to collaborate, but if this is where they currently work, and this is where they see things, I'm going to join them there, and then we go together somewhere else, hopefully. Same with pull requests. I've seen a lot of teams heavily commenting on pull requests, also asynchronously. Yeah, let me join in. Okay, here's where you work. I'll give my feedback here, my suggestions, my praise. And then we can decide together what is maybe a better way for all of us. And finally, whatever change I'm about to introduce, there will be early adopters, and I find early allies or advocates for certain topics. But there will always be late adopters as well. And sometimes it's the same person, just on different topics. And that's okay, we're all different. We can't expect everybody to make the same jump at the same time. Certain things are differently difficult for people. So let's meet them where they are. Show, don't tell is one of my favorites because, well, it's quite kind of cheeky doing that in a talk, telling you a lot of things. But actually, bear with me, I've met so many people who just never made an experience. So when I was talking, for example, about pairing, sometimes I just get blind stares and it's not tangible. They have no clue what that could be if they've never experienced it. So let's fix that and give them that experience. So instead of just talking about things and how beneficial it is and trying to explain it rationally, let's give them the experience. I don't need to talk about it. Let's make it tangible. In the example of pairing, I could also just stop talking about pairing, but after, for example, a daily stand-up or whatever checkpoint you have in a day. Ask a fellow developer, hey, I have a question. Can you stay for a bit? Can I show you something? Show them the product maybe you found a weird behavior or whatever it is. Ask the questions. And as the conversation continues, not only sharing my screen and pointing out that question, I can start interacting with the product, which leads to new questions, which leads to new results, and starting pairing by just doing it instead of talking about it. So that then they experience the benefits. For example, oh, wait, you just triggered a few thoughts. That's actually really useful input. Maybe we found an issue. Maybe we fixed it together right away. So it's very fast feedback loop. OK, cool, I didn't have to wait, and it's already done now, so cool. And maybe also nobody saw it, especially if you're like in a blamey environment. Whew, nobody saw I made an issue here or an error, because it's already fixed without even documenting it. That can be really beneficial for people. So then they get also more willing to experiment on other things and try different ways of working. But experimenting has to be safe, which means safe to fail. Even if our hypothesis doesn't turn out to be correct or can be proven, it's not a failure as in we made a really big bad mistake and we're bad people. No, it's just, oh, well, it just didn't work out, but we learned something. And we can use that valuable learning from that hypothesis that didn't work out, actually, into the next decision, the next experiment we're trying. So it's a positive thing, but it has to be, as I said, safe to do so. You can't be measured by the outcome of an experiment, for example. Sharing. I already introduced that in the beginning, making things a team thing, making things holistic. We need to share access, as I mentioned, foundational thing. Access to knowledge, permission to tools, invites to meetings, invites to communication channels that shouldn't be reserved for certain elites. And this will naturally reduce the gatekeeping and increase transparency. Can also work to increase trust. And it can be sometimes really little things. In my current team, it was a matter of having a shared team calendar where we just agreed to, okay, any kind of team-related call just goes in there for everybody to see, so everybody knows what's going on. And even if you're not on the invitee list, you're still explicitly invited and welcome if you want to join. Made a huge difference for our culture. Like a seemingly little thing had a huge impact in a very positive way in that case. Once we have access, we can also share knowledge and skills through whatever way the team prefers, if it's on working together on certain topics, if it's about how-to documentations, or whatever it's going to be, sharing, because we can all learn from each other, and nobody knows all the pieces. As soon as we have that shared knowledge, we can also share load for all the things. That includes glue work, which is often so undervalued and underrated, but is extremely valuable because it's literally holding the team together. But to be able to share the glue work, all the things that need to happen besides what's visible on a board maybe, to get an idea to production, all the other hidden things to keep the team together, let's make those visible so we can actually share them. And then it could also be a very positive thing that can be appreciated again and again work for you. Sharing the pain doesn't sound really nice if you think about it, but actually it's even worse if just one person in a team is left alone with all of it. So let's rather share it and also do it more often, because not only is it really bad if just one person suffers, but if everybody sees it and feels it, there's a really good incentive to actually get rid of it and resolve it. And if we share all the things, let's also share credit. We are a team, no rock stars. So if we do all those things together, let's take also credit together. There were always things already going on. Existing energies, existing systems. There's always going to be a working system at place. Now, systems are there to uphold themselves, and they basically do what they do. That's the purpose. And it's really hard to break them, to smash them, replace them. So what I usually try, especially in those team settings, is to do a little copy, shape it a bit, replace it very iteratively. If you think of systems, like people usually have really good reasons why they behave in certain ways. Sometimes it's just past experiences, maybe they got burned or they had really bad examples from their past. But oftentimes it's also the current system they're working in. Think of your current system. What are people getting rewarded for? What are they getting punished for? What are they measured by? All that really influences our behavior in a lot of ways. So instead, think about the desirable behavior that you want to see. How should that system look like so that this will be the natural, easy way to do for people? Systems are not the only thing that are already in place. There are also going to be a lot of practices in the place in that team. My current one, it was a group of individuals, it wasn't a real team, but actually they had a practice that really worked well for them. It was rotations, which is actually a fun fact because they didn't share much, but that's one thing that they actually shared as a team. Like, for example, invites to recurring meetings where you had a representative of the team. They rotated. So I felt, okay, I want to introduce this new thing. I want to see that we respond to issues that get reported a lot quicker and start investigating and not just let them, ignore them and rot. How about a rotation? So we came up with the issue investigator of the week. And it actually worked. The team picked it up. And we're like, okay, if that works, maybe we can build again on that. Because I'd also love us to observe production, just to proactively see if there's issues and be quicker in response. So it became a new part of that role, and it's actually working. It doesn't always work, but this is something you can do and can make use of. Same as building on motivations. Everybody is already driven by certain motivating factors. It could be that someone wants to grow their skills, maybe in the area of accessibility, because that's an interesting theme for them to build on. Or someone wants to grow their career, maybe towards a change of role, or whatever it is. You can make use of that. Maybe that's your first allies on related topics. And there's also our own motivations that come into play here. If we build on our own motivations, it's also going to get a lot easier to drive certain changes. Why not make use of that too? We want to have faster feedback and flow. Now, it's one of those factors where I really saw teams excel or not. How smooth is that flow? How fast do we learn? But it doesn't happen naturally. First, we have to learn and discover how can we collaborate in a faster way. And again, I've started in a lot of teams where it was very, very separate, very siloed. So it's going to be a journey. But you can still think about, okay, where can you increase flow? Where is the friction right now? Where do you have to wait? Where are you blocked constantly? What are those points? What could you do to resolve them, make it a bit better already? And a lot of folks can join in on that conversation. One of those flow blockers is that people just start all the things at the same time, and it's like traffic jam. So you have to all the time to switch contacts. Everything is going on at the same time, but we're all depending on each other. That's why we're working in a team, right? We also want to have that input from each other. So instead of just starting all the things, this is a mantra that I keep repeating, and no, it's not new. stop starting, start finishing. And that means if you're done with your thing, whatever that currently is, help someone else to get theirs done. And even if you're not willing to do that yet, because maybe there are other conceptions at play, just don't make it worse, just don't start anything new. Trying to become a part of the solution and not the problem. And sometimes that also means we intentionally have to go slow or perceived slow in order to actually go fast. And one of the best incarnations that I've seen of that is ensembling, or often called also mob programming or software teaming, all the same thing. The whole team working together on the same thing, same time, same place, same computer. All eyes on it, which is often perceived as like, oh my gosh, this is so counterintuitive. This is going to slow us down. But actually, it is a speed enabler. You will have a lot better quality outcomes if you do that. But that's a whole talk on its own. So, a bit better every day. A bit better every day? Yeah, every day. That forces us to think small and to think good enough. It's actually good enough. It's just a bit better than yesterday. It already takes you far. You don't have to jump to perfection. It can just literally be a bit better. But for that, we have to take really tiny steps. Tiny, tiny, tiny. And that can be sometimes frustrating because you can't see the progress instantly. So frequently look back and see like, oh, no, actually, we already progressed. We made it farther. And we can celebrate that again and appreciate it and showcase also in front of our teammates, no, we've actually been somewhere else, and through tiny steps, we made it further. But we have to take action. And action really, really trumps words all the time. Unless in this case, because here it's all about words. Sometimes talking does help. Bringing a new reality to people and changing their mind and point of thinking. For example, by reframing situations. Ever encountered teams that just moan about everything, like the powers to be, we can't do anything, it's the others, we're always waiting on them, whatever it might be. We can reframe that situation and showcase like, no, actually, we have this and this and that in our control. Here's where we can make decisions. This is what we can do actively, where we're not influenced by others. We also often encounter situations where people rather condescendingly tell each other like, oh, you don't know that? But that's so essential, like everybody knows that. Might not be super helpful to get someone else to get encouraged to learn about it. So how about we reframe that to a learning opportunity? Oh, you never came across that? Oh, that's cool. Today's the day. Same with postmortems. And incidents in general. Like if you're in a blame context, they're often not so blameless as they should be, but they actually are a learning opportunity. Reframing. And sometimes it's just talking things into existence. Now, when I started in my current team, I already knew up front they had a really bad reputation. And people outside the team talked really badly about the mobile team. Oh my God, how can you start there? And when I started, I saw a whole different picture. Yes, I saw a lot of problems. People really struggled. They had a lot of challenges. But actually, they were good people. It's not that they didn't want to do good work. So I started talking about this situation everywhere. In front of other teams, stakeholders, whatnot, also in front of my own team. These are all the challenges. This is what we already did, and see it already improved. And just keeping talking about the situation that we're in and the good people, and hey, I just paired with that person and that person just moved, and hey, you know what happened today? And slowly, after people like frowning, like, really, are you talking about that team? Yeah. We had situations where we had cross-team collaboration, like testing together a bigger feature cross-team, being together in an incident response call. So people saw my team for the first time and experienced how they actually work. And afterwards, they told me like, oh wait, this is the mobile team? Okay, it's completely different. Because constantly talking about these things really helped to tell it into existence, also for my own team. They started to believe that they could be that team. And they were. It's great if you need it. Absolutely, it's a nice feeling until you're needed for everything all the time, and you're the bottleneck. And yes, sometimes I have to start being the bottleneck. I shouldn't end there. It doesn't help my team, it doesn't help me. It doesn't leave me any space to grow and do new things. So, instead of just doing all the things by myself as I started my career, big part is on focusing on enabling all the rest of it. And it's not taking anything away from me. I can still do all those things, and it's great, and I have a lot of fun doing that, but now the whole team can, and we can all be a lot more resilient. So investing in upskilling people can really, really help, be it through pairing, ensembling, be it through delegating tasks and debriefing, how-to documentations, whatever works. Sometimes that also has to take the form of me not doing any solo work at all. Like in the team that grew out of nothing, all the developers left, 5 new people came, I was the only one suddenly. Pure bottleneck, having all the technical knowledge, all the system knowledge, all the historical knowledge. Yeah, to not run into burnout there, stop doing things on my own, always together, until people could really pick it up. And then you have to go away to test it out, see what works, what not yet. So not having them jump into cold water, of course, so preparing people for that, but then really go away and see where are the gaps, what else needs doing, rinse and repeat. Ignoring conflict doesn't work. I tried it, but it only festers. Now, let's rather put that fish on the table before it rots. I shared about that team where we built up conflict for 2 years, slowly. It's like nearly completely hidden. And it completely imploded the team. It wasn't savable anymore. And I loved working with those people. In the end, we could not talk to each other anymore. It's the saddest story of my career. I don't want that to ever happen again. So I'd rather speak up, as hard as it is still, but I'd rather speak up in retros. If I have feedback, offer that to the other people and share those observations when it's still small. And that also comes with not assuming, but learning where the other person is coming from. Again, I might not agree with that, but it's still valid. And we need to know both sides to see if there's a way to bridge that gap and to come back together, or if there needs another solution. And everybody is very, very different. And that's actually a good thing. But we also have really different needs. Like, think about it. Are you a morning person or an evening person? Do you need silence to think, or do you think out loud and you need talking to do that? Do you have a child or an elderly person to care for? Do you have a disability that we need to accommodate for? What is it? Let's be curious about each other and see what we can do to help each other and fill these needs, because we want to hear all those voices. This is why we're a team. This is why we want to work together. We want to build something that we can't do on our own. So we need to hear them. But ever been in a team call or team meeting where you have 2 people not saying one word the whole hour? I've been in a lot of those. It's very sad to see. Who are always the loud voices, the dominant ones? Who do we hear all the time and who do we never hear? Let's start watching for that. And then hold space for those people who are not yet contributing. There might be a lot of reasons why. It's not only one reason. Let's hold space, not force them, but hold that space that they can slowly start feeling safe, that they can actually contribute. And sometimes, more often than not, it does mean I need to shut up. Then we can opt for joint decisions. Because that's where we get the good out of the whole team. And some people say like, oh, this is so slow, and we just need to make fast decisions. So yes, sometimes we have to impose decisions, but it's really unlikely that they get lived by the whole team for longer. So instead, opting for joint ones, and they don't have to be slow, they can also be very quick, but involve people in decision making. You'll never know where it leads you. It's probably a different solution than you have in mind. Optimism and hope goes a long way. And part of that is radiating that confidence that we can figure things out in the team. And that's sometimes easier said than done, because I'm probably in a situation where I need to build up my own confidence, like, never done that. I'm like the senior of something. I'm also not as confident right now, but it comes with practice. And again, it's not about knowing everything already. It's about figuring things out together. And your teammates are probably in the same situation. They also need to build up that confidence. So why not do it together? No one is alone, and no one should be left alone in a team. Otherwise, it's not a team. Everybody fears something. Everyone has to learn something, and that's totally okay. And if we can manage to get all those things done together, let's celebrate the heck out of it. All the things that go well, if it's super tiny, if it's a tiny step for someone, if it's super big, it doesn't matter. Let's celebrate that. Most often times are not as great. That is part of it. It's not all rosy and shiny. But whenever things do go wrong, do go well actually, and we can celebrate, let's do it. That can also showcase other people like, hey, oh yeah, actually it's already better. It's already better than yesterday. That's my toolbox. This is where I am right now. There's room for more, of course, but it did really, really help me so far. Now, when you listened, did you notice something? I mean, what does this have to do with testing and quality? Aren't these about team culture? Yes. For me, team culture is the foundation for everything. For people to be able to thrive, to be allowed to thrive, for quality to have a chance to even emerge. For me, it's the biggest enabler that I've seen so far in all the teams I've been in. But what about all the technical topics and those technical challenges? Yeah, they're still there. Let's do them, absolutely. It's not about building the perfect team first and then you tackle all the rest. No, it's actually a mess. It's all entangled. But we can also build on each other and everything goes together. But once you have that culture in a better shape, you'll see how much easier all the technical challenges will be to solve. It's the end of the talk. I talked a lot about things that worked for me, right? Where does that leave you? What's the next step? Well, you actually have everything that you need already. The rest, you'll figure it out on your journey, just as we all do. Take that action. Get started. Keep at it. Keep trying. And try those things from toolboxes, like the one that I've shared. But a lot of other people also shared their toolboxes. Maybe you'll build your own. And you can also share it with every one of us, because we will all learn and benefit from that. You can also look around you, because a lot of times you'll have people in a similar situation just alongside you in the same team. Usually people who are in dedicated roles, like a product owner, an architect, security experts, also developers, because sometimes you just have the one back-end person in the team, or the one front-end developer, or the one who's taking care of more operational things. So look around you, because we're all trying to do things for the better. Why not join forces and go together? Because together, we can change the world step by step towards holistic testing and quality, or any other goal. Well, at least in my experience. Now, I hope it inspired you a bit for your own journey. You have something to take with you and to take that next step. In case you have any questions I can't answer right away, I'm still around at the whole conference, but you can also find me on social media. I'm most active on Mastodon, and the rest of the links you'll find on my website. And with that, I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much, dear sir. Hi, Lisi. Thank you so much for your talk. I loved it a lot. I have a quite provocative question. Like, you talked a lot about the culture. I truly appreciate that. I'm a huge advocate for making the culture right to make other things right. But sometimes there are processes like KPIs or individual performance reviews imposed onto the teams. And don't you feel hard to work on smaller things while there are certain big things negatively affecting teamwork, essentially destroying it to group work? Thank you.
Do I find it hard? Yes, absolutely. It all costs a lot of energy, by the way. It's not coming for free. It's still doable, but it does require to be in for the long game. That's why I also share my contacts. I'm working in product companies. I'm in there for longer. And I'll need that time also to affect this kind of change against all those forces that you just named. In the current team I'm in, we're having so many fires burning and suddenly getting high priority that distract us, basically, and detract us from our way. So yes, it does require very intentional energy to still keep going and still do just the one bit better than yesterday against all those forces. Absolutely. So it's really about not giving up too early, basically.
Thank you.
What was your role in your teams?
So there's a lot of conceptions around those titles. So I'm often saying nowadays I'm like a testing and quality specialist. If you call that tester, if you call that quality engineer, if you call that QA developer, all the names, they mean very different things in very different mental models of people. So it's usually coming with a lot of explanations. If you want to hear more of that, you'll definitely find me around. But I'm basically a generalist that is specialized in tasking and quality, but I'm involved in all the things wherever we can build products in a better way and build better products, especially together in a team. So that encompasses like all the things from development to UX to architecture to security to experimenting, everything, which I love because I'm a generalist. So if no further questions, again, feel free to come to me. Reach out to me in social media. I'd love to hear your stories. So thank you for being here.